Do you want to become a scratch golfer? Today I'm going to take you through 7 shocking stats from a Golf Monthly article where they partnered with Arccos Golf studying hundreds of millions of shots. So I'm going to take you through these 7 stats so that way you can see how your game stacks up. Plus, with each stat, I'm going to give you tangible tips so you can start improving your game fast. Also, make sure to watch until the end because the 7th stat is probably the one that's holding you back from becoming a scratch golfer. So the first shocking stat about scratch golfers is our putting. If your putting sucks, it's going to make golf way more difficult and nearly impossible to become a scratch golfer. According to the study, a scratch golfer averages 5.2 one putts per round, 11.5 two putts per round, and 1.7 3 putts per round. That's right, scratch golfers do average more than 1 3-jack per round. Now, of course, we want to avoid those at all costs, but just so you know, if it does happen during the round, it's not the end of the world and you still can bounce back. Here are 3 ways to improve your putting fast. Number 1 is finding a putter you love. If you don't look down with a ton of confidence at your putter, it's going to be nearly impossible. The second thing that you want to do is make sure and have a consistent putting routine. It's one of the few habits of all consistent golfers out there. And finally, make sure you're actually practicing your putting. Most golfers love to hit balls on the range, but neglect their putting time. So buy an indoor putting mat, work on your putting more, and it's simply going to help you become a scratch golfer a lot faster. The second stat is all about driving. And I bet if you're like most golfers, you think scratch golfers are hitting at 275 or 300 with his club all the time. But this study actually found that is not the case. In fact, scratch golfers average 259 yards off the tee. Not to mention, they only hit 51% of fairways. So you don't have to hit every fairway and hit it 300 yards to become a scratch golfer. However, you do want to make this club, along with your putter, 2 of your most favorite and trusted clubs in the bag. To improve your driving, here are 3 easy tips. Number 1 is to make sure this is custom fit for your game. If you're someone that's taking golf serious, we have to make sure this club is helping and not hurting us. So make sure it has the right loft, the right adjustments if it's adjustable, the right shaft, and of course the right club head for your swing. The second thing to do is make sure and start speed training. I've talked about speed training a lot on the channel using ripstick. I think it's the #1 way to improve your swing speed, and it's going to help you hit it longer, which again is directly correlated with lower scores. And the third tip for your driving is to simply hit the gym a little bit more often. When you have more strength, more flexibility, it's going to make this driver a lot easier to hit consistently well and going to get you a lot closer to your goal of becoming a scratch golfer. The third stat about scratch golfers is all about bunker game. Now, they get it up and down 39% of the time from bunkers inside 25 yards. That's actually pretty good because the average on the PGA Tour, obviously the best of the best golfers, is about 50%. So if you want to improve your sand game a little bit more, make sure to 1, walk into the bunker with the right attitude. I find that most golfers walk in with doubt, fear, and dread, and that's not setting them up for success. The second thing is to make sure and play the right wedge. I find that a lot of golfers use a wedge with not nearly enough bounce, and it makes that shot a lot more difficult. The third thing to help your bunker game is to make sure and practice it more often. If you only practice your bunker game once or twice a year, it's hard to have a ton of confidence. So make sure to either get a lesson or just spend some more time in the bunker so you can have more confidence and hopefully get it up and down close to 40% like scratch golfers. 4 shocking stat from this article found that scratch golfers only average 0.7 double bogeys per round. So we want to make sure we are avoiding doubles at all costs. Here are 3 easy ways to stop making double bogeys. Number 1 is to play one shot shape 99.9% of the time. A lot of golfers think you have to hit fades or draws depending on how the hole is set up, where the pin is positioned. In reality, you should play one shot shape so you can minimize those big misses that oftentimes lead to double bogeys. The second thing to avoid doubles is stop playing hero golf when you're out of position. So anytime I hit a bad tee shot and I'm really in a tough spot, I always ask myself this one question: how can I make bogey or better? When you ask yourself this question, it's going to change your mindset. It's going to hopefully help you get back out into position, maybe make par, but at worst, make bogey. And the third way to stop making doubles is to learn Decade Golf. I have several videos on the channel here, but Decade Golf is an amazing course management system that teaches you how to pick the right targets off the tee and into the green so you can avoid those big misses, stop being short-sighted, and hopefully stop those double bogeys. The 5th scratch golf stat is all about short game. Scratch golfers get it up and down 57% of the time inside 25 yards, averaging just about 12 feet from the pin. From 25 to 50 yards, they get it up and down about 35% of the time, averaging close to 20 feet proximity. To improve your short game, make sure you're actually spending enough time at the chipping green. If you go to the driving range, you'll always see it packed. Everybody's waiting to hit golf balls, but the chipping green and putting green are usually empty. So make sure to, 1, spend more time on the chipping green so you can get it up and down more often. The second thing to do to improve your short game is to hit different shots. Just simply throw a bunch of balls down and learn how to hit different shots. try ones over the bunker, try them from tough lies, try them when they're in the hard pan or other difficult situations so you're able to adapt when you get to the golf course, because you never know what the golf gods are going to throw your way. And the final thing to improve your short game is to always pick a landing spot. So give your mind a lot of clarity around the greens when you do miss it by saying, hey, I'm going to land the ball here, and try and find something. It could be an old cut mark, it could be a certain spot on the fringe, but find something so you give your mind a lot of clarity on that landing zone. The sixth stat that I think you need to know about scratch golfers is how many birdies they make. They make 2.2 birdies per round. So as I mentioned, they make 0.7 double bogeys, 2.2 birdies per round, 10.5 pars, and 4.6 bogeys. So if you really want to become a scratch golfer, we have to eliminate bogeys more than we have to make a bunch of birdies. Don't get me wrong, I want you to make some birdies, I want you to give yourself as many opportunities as you can, but don't think you have to play overly aggressive, especially inside 100 yards. I find that way too many golfers are trying to really play aggressively, aim at the flag, even if it's tucked behind a bunker, and a lot of times you're gonna miss and you're gonna leave yourself short-sighted and you're gonna make bogeys and doubles a lot more frequently. To improve your scoring average, make sure to, one, play the right equipment. I've talked about it a couple times already with the driver and putter, but make sure your irons are also fitted for your game, make sure your grips are new, make sure that you have all your equipment setting you up for success. The second thing to do is work on our mental game. I find that a lot of golfers simply make bogeys, doubles, or worse because their mental game is not there. If you're getting super angry after a bad shot and you're letting it go into the next shot or the next shot, you're gonna have those costly blow up holes. They're gonna waste a bunch of shots and it's gonna make the round not nearly as fun. So make sure you're training your mental game on and off the golf course. The third thing to do to improve your scoring average is to stop setting score goals. Stop going out there and saying, I'm gonna shoot 72 or better today, or I'm gonna shoot in the 60s today. When you have these goals, you're making golf even more difficult. And what happens if you make a double or triple on the first few holes? It's easy to give up and kind of throw in the towel. So stop setting score goals and instead set process goals. Have one goal for every shot, and that's to be as committed as you can to the distance, picking the right club, and picking the right target. Now, I saved the best for last. So the final scratch golf stat that you need to be aware of to improve your game is greens and regulation. Hitting more greens is directly correlated to a lower handicap. Scratch golfers average 56% of greens in regulation and average about 26 feet in proximity. For context, the PGA Tour is about 67% greens in regulation, but needless to say, even as a scratch golfer, you're gonna miss about 7 or 8 greens. Here are 3 easy ways to hit more greens in reg. The first is to aim for the middle of the green more often. If you're trying to attack flags all the time, you're gonna end up short-sighted, you're gonna miss a lot of greens, and it's gonna be very difficult to become a scratch golfer. The second thing is to make sure you have your distances mapped out. You need to make sure you know how far you hit every club in the bag, so that way you can walk into each approach shot with confidence. And the third way to hit more greens in regulation so you can become a scratch golfer is to make sure and stick to a consistent pre-shot routine. You want to make sure your routine is the same timing, the same set of rituals on every single shot. That way you can analyze your lie correctly, you can figure out the right club for the shot, you can pick a good target, and then you can be 100% committed over it. So if you can hit 10 greens around, you're gonna be a lot closer on your way to becoming a scratch golfer. So if you wanna create your pre-shot routine so you can walk into every shot with confidence, make sure to download my free pre-shot routine checklist. It's super simple, you download it, it's 100% free, and that way you can make sure you dial in your routine so it improves your mental game and you walk into every shot with confidence. Click the link down in the description or simply go to wickedsmartgolf.com/routine-checklist. Becoming a scratch golfer is something you can absolutely do, so figure out where your game ranks in these 7 categories and put in the work so you can improve and finally hit your goal of becoming a scratch golfer.